The life of Jeffrey Epstein is a story that began in the quiet middle-class neighborhood of Seagate in Brooklyn and ended in a federal jail cell in Lower Manhattan, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a vast web of high-profile connections. Born on January 20th, 1953, to Paula and Seymour Epstein, he was the elder of two sons. His father was a groundskeeper for the New York City Parks Department, and his mother worked as a school aide. From an early age, Epstein was recognized for his academic sharpness, particularly in mathematics and physics. He skipped 2 grades and graduated from Lafayette High School at just 16 years old. Despite his intellectual gifts, Epstein's path was unconventional. He attended Cooper Union and the Current Institute at New York University, but never completed a degree. Nevertheless, his lack of formal credentials didn't stop him from landing a job at the prestigious Dalton School on Manhattan's Upper East Side in 1974. There, he taught physics and math to children from some of the wealthiest families in America. It was at Dalton where he made a connection that would change his life forever. He tutored the son of Alan Ace Greenberg, then the head of the investment bank Bear Stearns. Greenberg was impressed by Epstein's mathematical mind and offered him an entry-level position at Bear Stearns in 1976. Epstein rose through the ranks with incredible speed, becoming a limited partner in just 4 years. However, by 1981, he left the firm under a cloud of mystery. Some accounts suggest he was asked to leave due to a policy violation, while others claim he simply wanted to strike out on his own. He soon founded his own firm, J. Epstein and Company, with a bold and highly exclusive business model. He would only manage the money of clients with a net worth of over $1 billion. The most significant relationship of his career was with Leslie Wexner, the billionaire founder of L Brands and Victoria's Secret. Wexner granted Epstein nearly total control over his personal finances and legal affairs, a move that provided Epstein with the capital and social standing to build his own empire. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, Epstein amassed a fortune that allowed for a lifestyle of extreme luxury. He acquired a massive townhouse in Manhattan, a ranch in New Mexico, an apartment in Paris, and, most notoriously, a private island in the US Virgin Islands known as Little St. James. As his wealth grew, so did his social circle. Epstein cultivated relationships with world leaders, royalty, and Nobel Prize-winning scientists. He positioned himself as a sophisticated philanthropist and a bridge between the worlds of high finance and intellectual pursuit. However, beneath this polished exterior, a much darker reality was beginning to emerge. In 2005, the Palm Beach Police Department began investigating Epstein after a parent reported that their daughter had been abused at his Florida mansion. This investigation eventually led to a federal probe involving dozens of victims. In 2008, Epstein entered into a controversial non-prosecution agreement. He pleaded guilty to 2 state-level charges of soliciting a minor and served 13 months in a Florida jail. Much of it spent on work release at his office during the day. For nearly a decade, this plea deal seemed to have settled the matter, and Epstein returned to his social life, though his public reputation was permanently tarnished. The situation changed drastically in late 2018 when an investigative report by the Miami Herald brought renewed attention to the details of his 2008 deal and the stories of his survivors. On July 6, 2019, Epstein was arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey and charged by federal prosecutors with sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy. He was denied bail and held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. On August 10, 2019, while awaiting trial, Epstein was found unresponsive in his cell. The New York City medical examiner ruled his death a suicide by hanging. The circumstances of his death, including malfunctioning security cameras and guards who failed to perform scheduled checks, led to intense public scrutiny and various theories. In the years following, his estate has paid out hundreds of millions of dollars to survivors, and his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted on federal trafficking charges. The legacy of Jeffrey Epstein remains a complex case study in power, the failures of the legal system, and the enduring search for justice by those he harmed. I can help you further refine this script by focusing on specific eras of his life, or I can help you research the legal outcomes of the various civil suits involving his estate. Would you like me to expand on the details of his 2008 plea deal, The Mystery of Jeffrey Epstein's Fortune? This video provides a deep dive into the financial origins of Epstein's wealth and his business dealings with various billionaires, which is a key component of his life story. The story of Jeffrey Epstein is often told through the lens of its ending, but to understand how he operated for decades, we must look at the specific environments that allowed him to ascend. In 1974, when Epstein began teaching at the Dalton School, he was an anomaly. He lacked a college degree in a world where credentials were everything, yet he possessed a specific type of social intelligence. He didn't just teach physics, he observed the dynamics of New York's elite families by positioning himself as a brilliant, albeit eccentric, mentor to the children of the city's most powerful people. He bypassed the traditional gates of entry. It was during these years that he learned the language of the ultra-wealthy, a skill that would become his primary currency. His transition to Bear Stearns in 1976 was the turning point from academic curiosity to financial ruthlessness. Under the mentorship of Alan Greenberg, Epstein entered the world of high-stakes trading during an era of deregulation and aggressive corporate maneuvering. At Bear Stearns, he wasn't just a trader, he was a student of the special situations desk. This department focused on complex financial instruments and unique market opportunities that others found too risky or opaque. By 1980, he was a limited partner, but his exit in 1981 remains one of the most scrutinized moments of his early career. While the official reason involved a minor internal matter, the departure signaled his desire to operate outside the oversight of a major institution. He realized that in the world of the 1%, privacy was more valuable than a corporate title. Following his departure from Bear Stearns, Epstein's career took a detour into one of the most significant financial scandals of the 1980s, the Tower Financial Corporation. Working alongside Steven Hoffenberg, Epstein served as a consultant for a company that would eventually be revealed as a massive Ponzi scheme, defrauding investors of nearly $500 million. While Hoffenberg ultimately went to prison, Epstein managed to walk away from the wreckage untouched. This period provided him with two things: a massive influx of capital and blueprint for how to navigate the legal boundaries of the financial world. It was shortly after this that he met Leslie Wexner, the billionaire behind Victoria's Secret. This relationship was the ultimate catalyst. Wexner didn't just hire Epstein, he gave him power of attorney, allowing Epstein to buy and sell assets, sign tax returns, and manage a multi-billion-dollar empire with almost no outside supervision. This era transformed Epstein from a wealthy consultant into a man with the resources of a nation-state. By the late 1990s, Epstein began to pivot his image towards scientific philanthropy. He became obsessed with the concept of transhumanism, the idea that technology and science could be used to evolve the human species and even achieve immortality. He funded various research initiatives at prestigious institutions, often bypassing traditional grant processes to give money directly to individual scientists. He hosted elaborate dinners and conferences where Nobel laureates rubbed elbows with socialites. For Epstein, science was not just an interest, it was a tool for social engineering and a way to legitimize his presence in circles that might otherwise have questioned the source of his wealth. He frequently spoke about his desire to use his New Mexico ranch as a base for a project involving genetic engineering. reflecting a dark utilitarian view of human biology that mirrored his predatory behavior in his private life. As he built this intellectual fortress, he also constructed a physical one. His acquisition of the Herbert N. Strauss House on 71st Street in Manhattan, one of the largest private residences in the city, served as a stage for his social operations. The house was filled with eccentric and often disturbing decor, including life-sized dolls and a mural of himself in a prison setting, which visitors often noted as being profoundly unsettling. This residence, along with his private Boeing 727, famously nicknamed the Lolita Express, created a self-contained world. Within this world, he was the ultimate arbiter of power, providing his guests with access to a level of luxury and privacy that was unavailable anywhere else. The breakdown of this empire began not with a financial crash, but with a single police report in Palm Beach in 2005. The subsequent investigation by the FBI and local authorities revealed a systematic operation that spanned several years and multiple countries. Despite the overwhelming evidence gathered during the Operation Woodworking investigation, the legal system's response was criticized as being heavily influenced by Epstein's connections. The 2008 non-prosecution agreement, orchestrated by high-powered attorneys and federal prosecutors, allowed him to serve a remarkably short sentence in a private wing of a local jail. This deal, which was kept secret from the victims in violation of the Crime Victims' Rights Act, allowed Epstein to maintain his lifestyle for another decade. It wasn't until the 2018 investigative series Perversion of Justice that the public truly grasped the scale of the 2008 failure. The reporting reignited a legal firestorm that led to the unsealing of thousands of pages of documents and a new federal indictment in July 2019. The charges this time were far more severe, focusing on the sex trafficking of minors across state lines and conspiracy. His second arrest at Teterboro Airport marked the final collapse of the immunity he had seemingly enjoyed for years. The conclusion of Epstein's life in August 2019 did not bring the closure many expected. Instead, it opened a new chapter of litigation and investigation into the institutions and individuals who had enabled him. From the resignation of high-ranking bank executives to the conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell in 2021, the shockwaves of his actions continue to be felt. The story of Jeffrey Epstein remains a cautionary tale about the intersection of extreme wealth, the cult of personality, and the systemic vulnerabilities that allow a predator to hide in plain sight among the world's most powerful people. The international footprint of Jeffrey Epstein's life was not merely a byproduct of his wealth, it was a strategic component of his perceived untouchability. Nowhere was this more evident than in his ties to France. For years, Epstein maintained a sprawling, multi-unit apartment on the Avenue Foch in Paris, one of the most prestigious and expensive addresses in the world. This residence served as his European base of operations, a place where the social codes of New York and Palm Beach were exchanged for the more opaque world of European high society. It was here that he cultivated relationships with influential figures in French fashion and modeling, further blurring the lines between his professional interests and his private misconduct. The French investigation that followed his death revealed a network of associates and properties that suggested his influence was far more deeply rooted in the European establishment than many had initially realized. Beyond the physical properties, the most enduring artifact of Epstein's life is his personal address book, often referred to in the media as the Black Book. This document, which contained the contact information for hundreds of the world's most powerful people, including heads of state, Hollywood celebrities, and titans of industry, served as a map of his social engineering. He didn't just collect names, he collected proximity. By ensuring he was always in the same room, on the same plane, or at the same dinner table as the global elite, he created a shield of social capital. This proximity made it difficult for institutions to distance themselves from him even after his 2008 conviction. It highlighted a fundamental flaw in the high society circles of the early 21st century, the tendency to overlook character in favor of perceived status and intelligence. The year 2019 marked the beginning of a reckoning that Epstein likely never anticipated. While he had successfully navigated the legal system a decade prior, the cultural landscape had shifted. The 2019 federal indictment brought by the Southern District of New York was a masterclass in forensic investigation, utilizing decades-old evidence and the testimonies of survivors who were finally being heard. The charges focused on a period between 2002 and 2005, alleging a vast conspiracy to recruit and abuse young women. When federal agents raided his Manhattan townhouse following his arrest, they discovered a safe containing a trove of photographs, diamonds, and a foreign passport, with his picture but a different name, details that painted a picture of a man who was always prepared to disappear. His death in August 2019, while ending the criminal case against him personally, triggered a massive wave of civil litigation and corporate accountability. The Epstein Victims Compensation Program was established, eventually paying out more than $120 million to over 150 survivors. This process was significant not just for the financial restitution, but because it forced a public acknowledgement of the scale of his actions. Furthermore, the scrutiny turned toward the financial institutions that had managed his money. Major global banks faced intense questioning and legal action regarding their failure to flag suspicious activity in his accounts, leading to massive settlements and a complete overhaul of how banks monitor high-risk private clients. The final chapter of this narrative belongs to the survivors. For years, their voices were silenced by non-disclosure agreements and the intimidating power of Epstein's legal team. However, the unraveling of his empire proved that no amount of wealth or high-level connections can permanently suppress the truth. The conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell in 2021 on charges of sex trafficking and conspiracy served as a legal validation of the survivors' accounts, confirming that Epstein did not act alone, but within a structured system of enablement. Today, the names of his properties have been changed, his island has been put up for sale, and his foundations have been dissolved. Yet, the story of Jeffrey Epstein remains vital subject of study for journalists, legal experts, and sociologists. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of extreme wealth combined with a lack of institutional oversight. It challenges the notion that some individuals are too connected to fail and highlights the ongoing need for transparency in the worlds of high finance and global power. As the legal dust continues to settle, the focus remains on the lessons learned from this era and the commitment to ensuring that such a system of exploitation can never be built again. Settings: use appropriate media, use none as watermark text.